All right, guys, so we're gonna make it so we can actually see the Cloudinary images in our listings, but before we do that, there's one thing I want to mention that you probably have wondered about if you've tried to go to the properties page after adding a listing, and that is that it doesn't show up right away unless you do a hard refresh with Command Shift R or what is it on Windows, F5 or whatever. So to keep that from happening, what you can do is, and this is only when we're making requests from from the server, which we are in this case in our request.js file and this fetch properties. So to fix that, all you have to do if you want it to show up right away is in the fetch request right here, where we're fetching from our domain/properties, we just need to add in an option as a second argument with cache set to no store. Okay, if you do that, and then you can see that Brad's property just popped up right away. So if you do that and you submit a property, it redirects you to that property page, and then if you go back to this page, you should see it right away. Okay, and obviously we don't see the images yet because we're not displaying them correctly. We're still displaying from the public directory. Okay, and on the home page they should show as well, as long as it's in those three random properties. Okay, so now we want to display the Cloudinary URLs, and the first thing we need to do is go into the config file, and just like we did with the Google image URLs, we have to add it to this remote patterns. So let's go ahead and just grab this, and then we can just copy that down, and we're just going to change the domain here, the host name, to, let's see, we're going to do res.cloudinary.com. Okay, so you want to make sure you add this, or it's not going to allow us. It's going to give you an error when you try to display the remote images. So do that, and then close that up. Let's start off with these pages, the home page and the properties, which both use the same component, right? They both use that property card component. So if we go to components, property card, right now, let's see, it's displaying the first image, which is what we want. However, it's looking in /images/properties. So what it's doing right now is it's looking at /images/properties/ and then HTTPS Cloudinary whatever. So obviously we don't want that part. We don't want the path. So we can just get rid of, actually we can just get rid of all this and just put a quote here, because all we need is the URL, which is already, the whole thing is in the array. So let's save that. It's going to mess up the other listings, which is fine because we're going to get rid of those. Let's see, failed to parse property images if using, must start with a leading slash. Let's see. Not sure. Did I do that? Oh, wait, what did I do? I put that as a string. An idiot. Get rid of the quotes. All right, so failed to parse source. Now this, so this is now trying to load the other ones, I believe. Yeah, so we have an issue where the other listings, since they're not domains, it's just like a JPEG. It's telling us to put a slash. Let's see, how do we want to handle this? I guess we could just delete all the other ones because I want to re-add those through the application anyway. So yeah, let's just go to our properties in Mongoose, and I'm just going to reload. So view reload data, and then let's get rid of everything except the custom ones that we've added. Yeah, because, well, actually just the last one, anyone that has this, the Cloudinary domains, because this one doesn't have anything. I can delete that, and then the rest of them have just the image name. So I'm going to delete all of these except for Brad's property. So delete, and let's start up here. Delete that. I'm going to re-add these through the project as a user afterwards. But for now, I just want to make sure we can show the images. Let's see, Seaside Retreat, Rustic Cabin, Ski, Mountain. Okay, so now I only have Brad's property, so I'm going to reload, and there we go. So now I'm seeing the image here, and if I go to home, we see it there as well. Now we want to take care of the details page, which is going to be a little more difficult because we want to show it here. We also want to show the rest down here. So let's start off with that, which is a separate component called property header image, right? So if we go here, all we have to do is get rid of all this and just have the image. So that's easy, right? Now we don't have anything right at the moment that that shows the images, so we're going to create a new component for down here. So let's do that. Let's create a new component, and we'll call this property. Let's just call it property images.jsx, and we'll do RAFCE. So property images, let's import the image component. Okay, and then for now, let's just import it where we want it, which is going to be into the ID page. So if we go to app, properties ID, route, not route, sorry. I want to go to app properties ID page.jsx, and let's bring in, I'll bring it in right here. So import property images, and then where do we want to put this? We want to put it at the very bottom of this, all this stuff here. So right above the ending bracket here, or the ending fragment. So property images, and then actually, yeah, I think this should be good. And then we'll pass in images, which is going to be property dot images. So we're passing in the entire array. Save that, and let's see if it shows here. All right, cool. Now, the way this is going to work is I wanted to show, if there's only one image, I just wanted to kind of show like this, just across the whole thing. But if it's more than that, I wanted to split in, if it's two, I want it to split into two sides, right? And if it's three, I want it to be 1, 2, and then the third one at the bottom stretch out to fill the whole thing. That way we don't have like an empty spot. And then if it's 4, which should be the max, then it'll be 1, 2 on, on the top, and then 1, 2 on the bottom. So the way we can do this is just by making a dynamic grid. And you don't have to do this, but I just think it looks a little better. So we can close everything except property images. And let's see, we're going to pass in the props of images, or the prop of images, and then we're going to return here a section, and let's give this a class name of BG-blue, or BG-blue 50, and then P-4, so add some padding. Okay, and then we're going to have a div with the class of container, and also mx-auto to move it to the middle. And then here I want to see if there's just one image. So images dot length, if that is equal to 1, so if that's equal to 1, then let's open up some parentheses, and in here we're going to have our image component, and we're going to pass in a bunch of props to this component. So the source is going to be just the first image. So images, the images array that gets passed in, we're just choosing the first one. And then we'll set an alt, and then let's say class name, I want to do object-cover. I want to do 400 height, so h dash, and then in brackets 400 pixels, mx auto, and rounded dash xl. and then let's do a width of 1800. I think this should work. So height is going to be 400, and we're going to set that priority to true, or else we'll get that warning. That should be curly braces. All right, and then after that parentheses, we'll say else, then open up another set of parentheses, and in here we're going to have, say, div class name grid dash calls dash 2 and gap dash 4. Okay, and then inside that div we want to loop through the images with map, and then pass in, let's say, image and index. Okay, so we're just looping through the images, and then what we want to output is a div, and in that div, actually let's add the ending div, and we want to add a key to this since this is a list. So the key, we'll set that to the index, and then the class name here is going to be dynamic, because again, if it's 3, I want one of them to span. So instead of setting that to quotes, let's set that to some backticks. Actually, you know what? Let's put this on a new line. Put this here, and then for, let's see, for the class name, I'll put this on a new line as well, and then in here we want to add the images. We're going to say images dot length, if that is equal to 3 and the index is equal to 2. So if that's true, so I'll go on the next line and say if that's true, then we want to add the class of call dash span dash 2. And let's say else, then we want to add the class of call dash span dash 1. Yeah, that should do it. All right, and then let's go into the div here, and then we want to put the image. So I'm just going to copy this and paste that here, except I want to change a couple things. Obviously, we don't want just the first image. We want to set that to the current image, which is inside of this map, which is, whatever iteration we're on. And then let's see, the classes, H4 rounded XL. Let's get rid of that and do width full. And let's just try that. I'm going to save it. Awesome. So see what I mean? Since there's 3 images, the third one spans as instead of just having it be 1, 2, and then the third one right here. Now, if there was 4, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it was 1, it would just be one span like that. Okay, I just want to reload and see if that stupid image component, yeah, it gives us some warnings. Has either height or width modified, but not the other. I don't know why it does this. So it's talking about this. Let's try sizes. Try my little trick. So VW 0, 0. See if that. Awesome. Yeah, so that works. Yeah, I hate some of the rules that image component has. So yeah, this looks pretty damn good, I think. And later on, we're going to have a light box so you can click on it, open it up, and it shows big, and you can scroll through all the images. But yeah, this is looking good. So what I'm going to do next, I'm not going to do this on camera because it's just boring and you're not going to learn anything, but I want to re-add maybe 6 or 7 properties through the application, and I'm going to add them as both users, my Tech Guy Info and my Traversy Media. So that's what I would suggest you do, is to create 2 log in as two different users and upload 2 or 3 listings with each user. And I'm going to get the same data from where is it? This properties.json. Okay, so I'm just going to type this stuff in through the form, upload the images through, all of our demo images we have in the public folder, and then ultimately you can just delete the properties folder that's in the public folder if you want, because we're not using them anymore. We're going to be using the Cloudinary images. Okay, so I'm going to go and do that, and then when we come back, we'll start to deal with managing the properties and the profile, because I want any listings that user creates, I want to be on their profile. So they'll be able to, click here and see all that. And then, of course, we want to be able to delete and edit and all that stuff.